There you have it. There you have it. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that we have a magnificent guest here today, Miss LaShawn L. Jones. She's a mother of 2 adult children. She has a deep-rooted passion for working with children, especially those who look like her and who may have been counted out. She is a product of the childhood welfare system and has been pretty much on her own since she was 14. She possessed a master's in social work from Fordham University School of Social Work. She is currently back in school for a second master's, and this time is educational leadership and administration. She's employed as a social worker, a school social worker in New York City, DOE. The school social worker she's been a school counselor or social worker for 14 years and spent over a year as a correctional officer in New York City Corrections, which I thought was very interesting, right? She's also a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, initiated in the spring of 2004. Through the exceptionally talented Espeon Tau chapter, she's a chaperone and a committee member with the New York City Black College Tour. A creator of her own, which I love, her own entrepreneur called My Black Butterfly, LLC, a t-shirt company. I want everybody, please give a warm welcome for our girl, the beautiful Queen LaShawn L. Jones. What's going on, mama? Yeah, what's going on? A magnificent smile and everything, man.
The intellect is flowing.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
What's going on? So
Good morning.
I have to ask you, first of all, how was your travel? Yeah, you have to put those on.
Oh. Is my part good?
Yes, you good.
She says my part good. Gotta look fly all the time, right? So how you feeling? Right in the mic.
Oh, okay. I'm well. I'm good. I'm good.
You good? You're not a little afraid, right? How's the energy?
I
Your
ain't
energy?
never scared.
Oh, I like that.
Talk
I
to
like
him,
that.
Bone Crusher.
Anxious, nervous,
Right.
but I ain't never scared.
That's what's up.
That's
So I
what
gotta
mean.
ask you, why a social worker? Why a school social worker?
Why a school social worker? So, one of my favorite jobs was, well, first of all, I wanted to be a doctor when
Okay.
I grew up. I went to Bronx Community College. I was getting 60s on my test, and I didn't have money to buy books, so I was
Right.
like, yeah, I've never been a failure. What am
Right.
I doing?
Right.
I took a human services class, like Human Services 101, and I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I want to do. So that's how I chose to become a social worker. When I went to grad, and I wanted to work in foster care. That's all I've ever wanted to do, work in foster care. I have some, foster care background. I was
Right.
in foster care
Foster
myself.
care, correct.
So that's what I wanted to do, but I had gone to grad school, and I took a social work and education class. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do.
Aha moment.
That's
right
what
there.
I want to do. That's
Right.
what I want to do. So I pursued it. I did it. I graduated with my master's in 2005.
Okay.
And I
That's
started
right.
my
Give it up.
first,
Give it up.
I started my first school social work job in 2005. Yeah, so.
I got to tell you, I'm not a product of the system, but my grandmother was a foster mother.
Okay, nice.
I mean, like at least 15 to 20 kids have come through my home when I was little. So every time I came home from school, she was like, "Oh, you got a new brother, or you got a new cousin," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'll see them for a few years, and then they would just vanish.
Yeah.
And as a young child, I just never asked questions. Like they just never were there. But I know the love was there. And so, but one of the things I've seen my grandmother go through, the children have a lot of difficult issues. And if you're not a professional, you don't know how to deal with those issues. She dealt with it just showing love.
Right.
And just gave more love and more
Right.
love. How do you deal with some of those issues? Are you prepared? Do they teach you? Are you educatedly sound for those different things?
They teach you how to write what you're doing on paper. They don't teach you how to do the job.
It's a totally different world.
Same thing with corrections. They teach you how to write on paper, how to legally be a correction officer, but
Now-
they don't teach you how to jail.
I have a lot of friends that are COs in Rikers. You was in Rikers? Yeah.
OBCC.
It's crazy there.
That's scary.
It wasn't so
That's
much
scary.
scary, which is kind of why I left.
Right.
Because I wasn't afraid enough.
Okay.
But I'm a social worker at heart. Like, I've learned that about myself. So I wasn't afraid enough, and potentially that could put me at risk.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right,
mean? So
yeah.
I found myself social working, so to speak, a lot of the inmates. But I had good days. I only had one use of force, you know, the little year that I was there, whatever the case may be, and he made me do it.
He deserved- he would.
Yeah, he
asked
was
for it,
being
right?
ignorant the entire night or whatever. So how do I deal with it? I think because I've been through it,
Right.
it's easier because they can't teach you how to be a social worker.
Right.
They can't. They could teach you what to say, what to
Right.
write. Like I said, they teach you how to write and how to, you know, be legally responsible as a social worker. But they don't teach you how to be human.
Right.
And I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
I think being human is what makes me be able to deal with it, and knowing that life happens
Right.
and it doesn't change, you know, that you're still human, you're still a person, you're still beautiful, or whatever the
Right.
case may be. So I think that's how I deal with it. And because I have been through it, I am able to put myself in their shoes. Even with the parents, like you said, your grandmother was a foster parent.
Right.
I was a kinship foster parent.
Oh,
So I had my siblings.
congrats.
At 23, I had, 4 kids? Only
Wow.
one was mine.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So just put yourself in the moment. And that's kind of how I deal with it.
That's what's up.
Yeah, my question was going to be just that, like, you know, having been a product of it, understanding where these young men and women are
Yeah.
coming from, I would imagine that gives you the heart for them and the
Yeah.
desire to help them a lot more.
Yeah, let me tell you a story. I used to work in residential care, and we used to, after school every day, we used to have these circles where the girls would come in, and, you know, we would go around, how was your day, so forth and so
Right.
on. And I had one girl who would just spaz out all the time, and she's like cursing us out. But, you know, that's funny to me. So she's cursing us out or
Basically
whatever.
asking for help.
Right, exactly. So but I was different then. So I took shoes and earrings off. Like, wait a minute.
And Vaseline.
Right, like, wait a minute. But so she ends up like cursing us out, runs into her room and is like, you don't know what I've been through, blah, blah, blah. I was like, this used to be my room. What are you talking about?
Wow.
It literally was.
Oh, that was
the
literally your room?
Yeah. That I had slept in, because the group home I used to work in, I used to live there.
Oh,
So
wow.
it literally was my room. Like, sis, don't tell me I don't know.
Right.
Just because I'm not telling you I know doesn't mean I know. I'm telling you because I do know.
Right.
And from then on,
Had no problems out of it.
no,
Yeah,
she was awesome.
She became
was
a sweetheart.
awesome. Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
You know, get
A lot of people change when they feel as though you care about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
And it's
having-
genuine.
It's
Yeah,
genuine.
when you
Yeah.
genuinely care about people, I think they know that, and they change their attitude and demeanor towards you. And people like us that work with kids also know that, you know, when they act out like that, it's
a
not
cry for help.
because, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not because they just feel like acting out that day. They're basically at a point where they're
Let
crying
me
out
tell
for
you,
help.
I was I was different when I was younger.
It's on point radio.
It's right.
You- as long as you don't use profanity,
How
we can-
different were you? That's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
different. I was angry as a child.
Right.
Of course, why wouldn't I be? I'm 14. I'm trying to figure out where
On
I'm
your
gonna sleep
own.
tonight,
Right.
where I'm
Yeah.
gonna live. You know, the people that's supposed to love me are not loving me like I think they should.
Should love you, right.
So, you know, I was angry, and no one stopped to say why. They just was like, "Oh my God, she's bad. She's fighting. She's this. She's that."
Right.
And I was disrespectful, if it warranted, you know,
Right.
me to be so, because I've always, and it's funny because now that as I'm older, I'm like, damn, I always had a mouth on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always like just been, wait, what happened? You know, so, but nobody took the time to say, what's going on? Like, it wasn't okay for me to be angry. It wasn't okay for me to be hurt and disappointed, and people don't understand that. So
Right.
that's how I work with my kids, like, especially my students. I get it. You mad, and I let them come in my office and wild out.
Yeah.
That leads me to what was my next question. I know conflict is inevitable. You know what I mean? And I wanted to know, do you have any strategies that you can tell us for crisis intervention? Like do you have like a 5-point system, 7-point system?
I do not, but my first thing is to let them speak. Let them tell me what's going on. Let me hear their side. You know, if a lot of times I try to bring the kids into my office to get them off the stage and to remove them. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
That was rude.
I apologize.
Wife, call him back.
No, that's actually not the wife.
I know, that's the wife, he up here acting up. He got his alarm on.
That's what I'm saying.
That's actually for parking, because they charge you like
Oh,
80,
yeah.
$80 million
Nope.
for parking.
I gotta do
You're
parking
welcome.
too. Thank you.
welcome.
You're so nice. You're sharp. You're sharp. You're sharp.
Sorry about that. Go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so I do start with, I need to put my glasses on so I can pay for parking. I'm sorry. As I've gotten older,
It's okay.
I can't see. So I give them an opportunity to speak. I'm not one for embarrassing people, especially my babies. Like, don't embarrass them. And a lot of times, adults embarrass children, and they feel like I'm the adult, you're the child. Listen, no. You're a human being. Like,
Right.
children deserve respect. I don't care how old they are. They're
Right.
two. You know what I mean? You don't push a kid or say something nasty. So that's how I start, to be honest with them. I listen to them. I don't say anything. I listen. Sometimes I have them come in, have a seat. You don't want to talk right now? They'd be like, no, have a seat. It's funny. I just posted maybe a few weeks ago how I love when my students come in my office, plop down, and don't say anything to me.
So how do you crack that shell?
Well, so here's the thing. They used to walk out the class and roam the building.
I see where you're going.
So now they come in and they plop down and they don't say anything. And I'm fine with that.
Right.
Sit right there. And then, I'll keep on doing my work. And then, I'll check, like, you good? You want to talk?
Right.
They say no, I say no. If they say yes, we start talking. And they talk. And they just kind of need a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
do. We're adults. I need a moment. I need to move away. I need
That's
to remove
right.
myself from a situation that's not good because I got too much to lose at this point.
A lot of people don't understand. Sometimes removing yourself from a situation, it helps the situation, and yourself helps
Absolutely.
control. I remember there was a time with my grandmother. She had this young kid, little Caucasian kid, and he came from parents that was well off, but he had a lot of emotional issues. And I laugh about this because I remember one time, my grandmother, she can definitely cook, like all grandmothers, right? So he had some chicken, and my grandmother had a special way of seasoning it. And mind you, this is a young kid. He had to be like maybe 10, out of control, totally out of control. Said what he felt and didn't, He was like, Grandma, who cooked that? Who cooked this goddamn fried chicken? this is good, yo. And we sat at the table. Laughing, hysterical. And my grandmother looks right at him without laughing. She goes, baby, come here. Walked over. She grabbed him, put him in her bosom.
Right, of course.
And just kind of rocked him and said, listen, we don't use those words here. You don't express yourself that way. This is how you express yourself. And then she went on to express how he should be speaking.
Teach him.
And it's just, your love is so powerful. I think we sometimes underestimate it. You know what I mean? And then we use and abuse it when we try to get what we want. You know what I mean? My question to you is, a lot of times supervision can be a problem in how we actually do our job. Is there a certain supervision, a supervisor, a way that you like so that allows you to do what you need to do for the children? Because everybody doesn't agree with everyone's tactics.
Absolutely. I'm respectful
Right.
of the teachers and
Okay.
my students. I don't want my teachers to feel like I'm taking sides. I don't want my students to feel like I'm taking sides.
Right.
So, like I was saying, when I have to remove a student from the class, I want to hear the teacher's version, and then I take my student and I hear his version or her version. And I don't do it together, because once you put them together, I didn't do that. I didn't do
Right.
that.
Right.
You know
Conflict.
what I mean? Right. Exactly. So I give each one, a chance to tell me what happened or from their perspective, and that helps immediately.
Right.
Diffuse it. I don't harp on it, and it's funny. I just did a classroom observation yesterday. Well, I sat in the class for 2 periods yesterday, and there was so many things that I saw this teacher doing. And I'm like, this is why you're struggling with your classroom management. You're harping on stuff. Say what you say, keep it moving. Like, move on. Like, as long as they're not literally distracting the class, then
Right.
redirect him or her, and then go on with your lesson.
Right.
So I told her yesterday after, when the kids were going, I said, listen, after you said what you said to him, you went over to your desk and you started mumbling the same thing you already said, loud enough for the whole class to hear.
Right.
Like, you're
Right.
antagonizing them. And then you want to know why they flipped the desk over. Don't do that. So I'm not one to have my teachers, he did, she did, he did. Miss, I don't want to hear that. I don't. I don't care what color you are as a teacher. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
Because you wouldn't want to hear that as an adult. To say,
Right.
he did, she did. Like, nobody wants to hear that.
Right.
Tell me what happened. Let me talk to him.
Right.
And let's keep it moving, and let's figure out how to move forward. And a lot of times people, they take it personal.
Right.
They
Right.
take it personal. Oh, this kid is disrespectful. Yeah, he's disrespectful. He is. He's raising his little brothers and sisters down at the shelter.
Right.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? Yeah, he's disrespectful. Because in his life, he's a grown man. Even though legally he's not.
Right.
But he's doing things that a 10-year-old shouldn't have to do.
When you open up
Right.
that picture and you open that picture up to someone and they see the broad spectrum
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
it kind of makes you like, okay,
And
I
it gives you
pretty much understand.
an understanding as to why they're being the way they are. Let me ask you this:
Yes.
in the position that you are as a counselor, A lot of
I'm a
times,
social worker.
I'm sorry, as a social worker.
So the difference is
It's a huge difference. It's a huge yes.
Okay, so I won't share.
You know what? Let's do that.
You know what? Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so
share for the audience.
there's a guidance counselor, there's a social worker.
Right.
The guidance counselor is typically responsible for
The academics.
the academics and middle school articulation, high school articulation, depending on the level. The social worker is responsible for the social emotional development of the children. So what I do is I provide counseling for our mandated students who have IEPs or at-risk students. Now, the guidance counselor can do counseling or whatever the case may be. I, however, cannot do high school articulation and middle school articulation. I can't do
so you
that.
have a specific lane.
Right, and then our certifications are different. I'm licensed by the state of New York. The guidance counselor doesn't have to be.
Right.
So,
Oh, okay.
Great point.
Yeah.
The question, no problem. We want to
That was
educate.
good.
We want to educate
Yeah,
the people and
all the
and bring
time.
them up to par as far as their knowledge is concerned. A lot of times, people, whether they're a kid and more so adults, have problems asking for help. Right. What is one of the things that you would tell a person that they can do to not act out, but to ask for help in a manner that someone can, of your professional
what is
quality,
the
can
criteria?
recognize, that they're asking for help?
I tell my students to stop. I always tell them to stop and to think about it. To ask for space. Like I said, how now they walk out of class and they come to my office and sit down.
Right.
Opposed to coming out of class and running the building.
Right.
When I first started there, people used to tell me, "Oh my God, Ms. Jones, like you changed a lot. These kids used to be off the hook. We used to chase them around the building." And granted, before I got there, there was one social worker for K to 8.
Right.
Now we have 3 social workers and 1 guidance counselor. So and not to take away from who people are, but they didn't look like them.
Right.
And that's so important. And I'm
That
not
is
saying that people
huge.
who don't look like each other can't work together or can't benefit one another and help one another, but it's just so much more meaningful for me as a child when I had people who look like me really trying to help me and look out for me. You know what I mean? And
Because they could identify with you.
exactly.
Yeah, they
And
could
a
understand
lot
that.
of times people who don't know, they don't know.
They don't know.
You know, so they don't know what to ask. They don't know. You know, it's funny. People were saying how, we say, "Oh, you don't have a book. Why you don't have this? Why you don't have that?" Because they can't afford it. What do you mean? That's why I don't have a pencil. Yeah, they got on new Jordans. They do.
Right.
They do. It's income tax season. They got on new Jordans.
So you understand the whole
Yeah.
the backdrop to a lot of this.
And a lot of people don't. So I definitely ask my kids to remove themselves from the situation. I try to teach my teachers, and I'm just starting leadership. Well, I'm almost finished, but I never wanted to be in leadership. I don't like supervising. I don't like telling adults what to do. I feel like it's stupid. Like, you should know better as an adult. A child, I want to teach you. I want to, show you how to become an adult, how to, deal with things outside of our school, our little, community or whatever. But for adults, it's not something I want to do. However, I realize that a lot of teachers are not, no teacher that I know of is trained for social emotional learning and development.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not. So we want them to deal with our children with the issues that they have, but they have no training. They have no background knowledge on how to deal with it. I told you I had an intern that had never left Long Island.
That is bananas.
It's time. Did you pay?
Did you pay yet? Did you pay yet?
I'm so sorry.
You have to get an $80
That time was
ticket.
rude. I apologize.
She said you were here with an $80 ticket.
That was rude.
So she was my intern, and she came to me upset because the mother had she fed one of the younger child and not the
Right.
baby. She gave the younger child like a heavier meal, and then
Right.
the older child, she gave him something light, and she was so like distraught. And I'm like, well, listen, I said the older child goes to school. He's
Right.
gonna get breakfast. He's gonna get lunch. He's going to have a snack after school.
Right.
The younger child has what she gives him at home.
Right.
I said, so if you look at it from that perspective, and that was not necessarily the case, perhaps, but look at it from that perspective and stop going, oh my God, like, what should we do? I feel horrible. The kids didn't eat. Okay, but they're going to eat here.
Yeah.
You know what I find to be fascinating with you? So many different things, but you open the door so the person you're speaking to, another counselor, social worker, is able to see, like I said, the backdrop of that child's livelihood.
It's important, though.
It's very important. It gives a whole nother understanding to the bigger picture, right?
Right.
But what I find very, very amazing, because I have a lot of friends that are COs in different parts of the country, how are you able to make the transition from coming from an aggressive environment, right, to now chilling out, detoxing and then listening to people? You know what I'm saying?
So I started as a social worker. I was a social worker for 8 years before I went to corrections. I went to corrections because my son started college. He's at Howard University.
Shout out to Howard HBCU.
Yeah. My
What's up?
baby's there. He's graduating this year.
Congrats.
But so I started as a social worker, but I was in charter school.
Right.
So, it's a little different, the
It is.
funding and, no school, no job type of thing.
Right.
My son's in college. We got bills. I can't afford to
gotta
do
do
it that
this.
way. So that's why I went to correction for the, the stability of it.
Okay.
And then the long-term benefits of, having the pension plan, whatever comes with it. But before school social work, I came from residential treatment. So
Okay.
I've always had that rah-rah, and that's kind
Right.
of how I am. Like, I'm being all cute here because, But at the end of the day,
I know who she is.
I am who I am,
Right.
Right.
And I tell a story about a job interview I went on, and the lady, my job I'm at now, she said, "How do you feel about aggressive parents?" Because we had a parent who told a teacher, "Don't put your hand on my child because I fight teachers." So in my interview, LaShawn was like, "Well, did the teacher say good because I fight parents?" And I'm saying to myself, "Girl, you're on an interview. What are you doing?"
Right.
But I got the job, and it's 5 years later, and
Wow.
I'm doing administration. You know what I mean? So I am who I am.
That was your purpose.
Yeah, I am who I am. But so I've always had that tough background, growing up on my own. Not when I say on my own, I don't mean, I was in the street sleeping under rocks and benches and stuff like that.
Right.
But I didn't have family.
Right.
I didn't go home for Thanksgiving. I had people at the residential treatment center who would, look out for me, and to this day, like, they're still my family.
Right.
So, but before that, and when you're 14, you don't trust these people.
Right.
Like, get
Not
away
at
from me. Like,
all.
you're lying, So I've always had that tough exterior. I've always been a fighter, physically and verbally. I used to fight for my brother. It's funny. I tell him I used to beat people up for you. Like, stop it. Don't do that.
Don't try to play tough now.
Yeah, right. And he's older than me too. He'd be like, whatever. We don't do that now.
You look at him
Like, don't forget.
Don't forget.
Don't forget. Don't take me there. And I'm not. I'm not really. I am tough, but I had to be. I've had to be.
Right.
I had to grow up the way that I grew up or whatever. But so I've always had that tough exterior. But at the end of the day, I'm soft and pink inside, and I think that's what helps me balance it, and it helps me be Miss Jones, the social worker, and at the same time be Miss Jones, the loving person. Like, I could scream and yell at my kids, and I'm not a screamer because I'll lose my voice in like 10 seconds, so I don't really yell.
Right.
But I can speak to my kids in a manner that 2 seconds later, I'm getting a hug after it's all said. And even my parents, my first day at my job, I had a parent come in here. What she said? "Y'all not gonna be waking me up out of my bed to come deal with this."
And this is her child. Right? Oh my.
I'm like,
Sounds
wait a
about
minute.
right.
I'm like,
Yo,
wait
Say it
a
all the
minute.
time.
That's
So I'm
crazy.
sitting right, like where you're sitting, and she's standing up. I stand up. I'm like, "Hello, I'm Miss Jones." She's with my AP. I'm like, "I'm Miss Jones. I'm a social worker here." I'm like, "You can have a seat." I don't want to have a seat. I said, "All right." I said, "Well, listen." I said, "I'm new here." I said, "I don't know the story." I said, "But I would like to know what's going on, whatever." By the end of the meeting, I promise you, this mother was hugging me. I promise you.
I'm gonna tell you something, and this is what I preach all the time. And people use it. A lot of them don't understand it. It's called verbal judo. You could take somebody from 10, bring them all the way down, and break them down. I understand that ability, and I applaud that ability because that within itself is exhausting.
Yeah.
after a while, you know what I mean?
It is.
Your line of work is very stressful, and people burn out quick, right? So, at the show here, we like to get a little nosy.
Okay.
All right. So, how do you detox? Your professional life, we understand you have a son that's in school. Do you have a loved one? And if he is in your life, how do you handle him coming home with all of that aggression? How do you do that?
Well, I don't have a loved one who comes home.
For all the guys, I know you're looking at the show. I hooked you up, baby. There you go.
I don't have a loved one who comes home. But I live my life. Like, like I said, I was 23 with 4 kids. One was mine, so I live my life is however I see fit. I'm not out breaking laws. I do run the streets a lot, but I'm grown. My kids are grown. My rent is paid. I work hard. So
You did your time.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I still get up every day, and I still do what I have to do. So I run the streets a lot. I like to play dress up all the time. I was listening to you talk about your shoot game. I'm like, let me see what you got.
She's staying on first base.
I love
Crazy.
it.
Every
I
time.
love
That's
it. So that's what I do. I
When you say run the streets, though, what do you mean? Like
I hang out. I go out with my girls. I go out
Right.
to parties. You know.
Did you have Galentine's Day?
Well, we
Thursday?
didn't. But so let me tell you, I'm working.
what is that? Can you please explain that?
I
It's
just
for
heard this
it's
year.
this new thing
Yeah.
for all the single ladies.
Hey, all the
right?
single ladies.
They get together on Valentine's Day. They call it Galentine's Day to comfort one another, make one another feel better.
Well, see, I don't need that because I'm a ball of fun by myself, and I don't
Facts.
need. And I don't really need, you know, like I appreciate Valentine's Day, and if my significant other, if that's what we're gonna call him, was in my life like that, then I wouldn't mind celebrating. But I do think it's a commercial holiday. Or
It
whatever.
is.
Yeah.
You know
So-
what I mean?
Definitely.
So I'm not stressing it.
So let's go a little deeper.
Uh-oh.
Right?
Uh-oh. You giving us
And I-
stats?
no, I'm not. No,
Okay, no
no
stats.
stats. No
Okay.
stats. No stats.
Yeah, because I got like a C in that class. And
Sorry.
I'm not
It's
for
okay.
it.
So, coming from where you've come from,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you should be very proud of. For the young ladies that are out there listening, that are in the same situation that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
what can you tell them in order to help them gain the self-esteem that it appears that you have, not only
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, but the things that you do, and to help them have the positive outcome from that bad situation
Mm-hmm.
that they're in, to show them that it can be done?
Believe
What would
in
you tell them?
yourself. Believe in yourself and put in that work. Give your naysayers something to be mad at. Make them angry. I remember people telling me, you ain't going to live to see 18. Again, I was
Wow.
angry. And here I am 42, about to be 43, and I'm showing
What?
off.
You
You
42?
see me saying?
What? If that black don't crack.
I didn't get what? Black don't crack at all. I like that.
So, but people didn't believe that I could do it. And to be honest, it took one person. Let me tell you, when I was in the group home in high school, I was bad. Like, don't say nothing to me. What happened? I don't want to do it. But I was smart, and I was
Okay.
always smart.
Right.
And school was my safe haven. School is where I didn't worry about what foster home I was going to go to. School
Right.
is where I didn't have to worry about what I was going to eat. So we had an award ceremony, and they was calling my name like LaShawn Jones. LaShawn. I'm like, I'm tough. I'm rough. Like, I'm not getting up to go get that. Get out of here. Ain't nobody being smart. Get out of here.
Right,
We're not
right,
doing
right.
that.
Right.
And my principal was like, West Indian man, get up on the stage and go. I was like, okay, fine, I'll get up. And from then on, they would not let me fail. They were like, oh no. I got stories. Ooh. Man.
You hear the
we always need good people behind us to help put
Yeah.
this
That's
together.
right.
And that's what I had, and even when they weren't supposed to, so I ain't even gonna say their names because they worked there, so they weren't supposed to make sure I was okay outside. When I got kicked out of all group homes. I was in 5 group homes in 4 years, and I got kicked out. I was a fighter,
Wow.
and they took me in, gave me car fare to go to school. They made sure I ate. They washed my clothes. They weren't supposed to, but they did.
Right.
And
You felt like somebody cared.
yeah, and if they had not have done that, I don't know.
Was that fighting a defense mechanism? Because I'll be honest with you, I grew up the same way.
Yeah.
And having, thank God for technology. My glasses used to be a lot thicker, and so
Everybody look like fish, right? Like
what?
It's a blue blue.
in a fish bowl, right?
I acted out and did a lot of things because it was a defense mechanism
Absolutely.
for me, to do that. Was that the same case?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was expected of me.
Right.
It was expected
Right.
of me, so I gave them what you asked for.
Right.
Right.
It was one time when I was in school and the girls, that, my crew or whatever, they started wilding out. My principal called me in and he said, "Get your girls." But I don't fight if I don't have to.
Right.
But I fight if I need to all the time. Not now because I'm a little older.
You
my
fight in a
knees
different way now.
are different.
Yeah.
But
Be done tore a pectoral muscle trying to swing at 42 years.
probably, right? Like you got. I used to say you have 5 minutes, but you probably got like 2.5 at this point. So I don't want no smoke.
Right,
But
right.
he said, "Get your girls." So I wasn't a fighter because I was a troublemaker, but I was defending people. Like I'm telling you, I'm like a natural born social worker.
Yeah.
I feel like that as I
found
think,
your purpose.
Yeah, like every fight I had in the group home was not my fight.
I've always been that way. I've gotten shot. I've gotten like a $150 across the arm from fighting. That's not my fight. Like if I would just mind my business, but I can't sit there and let the underdog. Well, I wouldn't say
Right.
the underdog. I can't see anybody bullying or picking on someone.
Right.
I need to know how to just stay out of it. Then,
Yeah, mind your business.
Mind my business.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I learned that. I break up fights in the street. They'd be like little kids or
Right.
kids, period. Like they'd be like, No, you can't do that.
Yes, you can.
No, somebody got to do it.
Somebody has
why
to do
these
it.
kids out here fighting? We letting this happen. I'm not doing it. I'm not
And you
doing
know what?
it.
It's that same opinion that has gotten us away from community.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
back in the day, when your neighbor said something, you did it.
Period.
You know what I mean?
With-
When an
without a
adult
question.
said something to you, you didn't have to know that adult.
Period.
You recognized that they were an adult,
Right.
and you acted accordingly in a respectful manner.
That element is totally
Nowadays,
missing.
you have kids that have no issue
Right.
with cursing
At all.
in front of adults.
Sure
and being a
don't.
country boy, raised in the church and coming from where I come from,
Right.
I still find myself, turning around, especially if I'm with my mother or with a female, and be like, "Hey, like you don't do that. You don't talk
Relax.
like that in front of women."
Right.
Two
wanna say
stories.
something?
I'm sorry.
We was just in shock over here. Will, you got scars?
Yeah, man. You know, I haven't always been.
Will
this
is
type-
3 Pac. You didn't know?
Yeah, I was definitely a fighter. Like I was the type of guy that would go from neighborhood. Like I was always good with my hands. So cats in the neighborhood would actually take me to other people's neighborhood to fight. the other
Queens?
dude,
In
you know what I
Queens?
mean? In Queens, yeah.
Wow.
And also in Brooklyn too.
Ain't no
And-
thugs in Queens.
Oh, you know what? We're not gonna even go there.
Hey, this is a radio show, and I'm just kidding for all you guys out there in Queens that want to keep it real.
The views and
Hey,
thoughts
I'm a geek.
expressed by
Hey,
Shed
I'm
don't
a geek and ain't
necessarily
with that life.
refuse.
So I ain't gonna sit here in
That's
front.
true. But
Nas, we love you.
I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of children out there. Like I was watching a reality show last night, where I thought was very interesting. Chicago Inc. Black Ink.
Black in
Yeah.
Chicago.
And one of the characters on there was going through depression.
4.
Four, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the other people around him, his partners, didn't understand. Well, not didn't understand. They just know how to work with it.
Right.
Right.
They figured like by just having words, "I love you, man. I love you. I love you," that was enough. And then of course the next morning he was missing.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, what are some of your strategic strategies or your plans or your steps of identifying signs of depression or abuse and things of that nature?
Wow, that's a lot.
If you could just
the
give me two.
identifying signs of abuse is usually easier for me
Right.
because
Okay.
it's kind of overt,
Right.
so to speak. The depression is really not. However, you look for habits, like
Right.
withdrawal and not wanting to be around people and just the affect, like just. And I have babies that are depressed. Oh my
Wow.
gosh, it's so touchy and it's like, and a hug is not enough.
That's
Right.
right.
Giving them the opportunity to talk about it is not enough.
Right.
I just had one of my students telling me how, her mother wanted to put her back in the hospital, because she's depressed. You're in 5th grade.
Right.
Wow,
You're in 5th
really?
grade, but she really is depressed. Like she's always sad, and that's another thing, like they're just always sad and nothing makes them happy. And the sad part about that is that either they don't know it, and their children, they don't know what to do about it.
Right.
And their
Right.
parents are, they don't know.
Right.
So it's just like, how do you know? So, we try to recommend things to families like, hey, this is what I do. Your child had a rough day today or whatever the case may be. I try not to share too much as
Right.
long as the child is safe.
Right.
With the parent, I try to share, like they wasn't having a good day today. They didn't really want to talk about anything. If you could check on them when you get home, I try to do a follow-up the next day or the next 2 days and say, hey, just wanted to check in and see how everything was going or whatever.
Right.
I definitely follow up my kids all day, every day, because the last thing I want to know is that my kid committed suicide.
Right.
Right.
Like that,
That's
I
every teacher's
can't.
worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? On a swing side of that, I like to bring you up, and I think that you are a magnificent queen,
Oh,
and
thank
because
you.
of that, and fellas, she's gorgeous too. She's gorgeous too. So on the upbeat of that, I like to give you a gift. We're gonna go to our
Is it food?
streetologist. Our streetologist. We call him D Nasty, the Nasty. He's gonna give you a little present. Let's do it.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Let's do it. Is that velvet?
Look at you, yo. You be vibing out.
Grab the mic, D. Can I do my traditional? And another one.
So we gonna dedicate this one to the lady named LaShawn. From everything that you're doing, you got it going on. Understand that you do it well. I'm breaking down your name cause you never taken L's. And I see that you jonesing and everything that you're doing. Working with the community, got it moving. These children, turning them to heroes and heroines and not villains. Understand that you feeling what you've been through. Everything you've been through is instrumental in bringing up the fundamentals. And all of these young kids funding their mentals so they can be the opposite of suspenseful. But I be the one MC like a Campbell. You said you never scared. It's like Bone Crusher was your spirit animal. It ain't nothing. I be rhyming and shining, coming through gleaming. It's sort of like a diamond. Understand, I'm not that other guy. You went from a brown caterpillar to a black butterfly. Yeah, you know I read the biography. You already understand I'm doing what I gotta be doing. Social work, working socially. Honestly, you speaking all vocally. And if you was running for the presidency, I'd say yes if you said vote for me. That's for real, I'm not even lying. You already see that I'm trying. Understand I come through with the swag like a savage. 40 what where, that's melanated magic. You already see I'm a lyrical assassin. Rhyme with a passion. Understand that we said before that you got it going on. So we showing mad love to the lady, Miss LaShawn.
Yeah. Yo, I will put anybody against this dude.
You did not
Question.
just
Yo,
use
hold
that information we just shared.
Yo, he's like that.
Bodied that.
Yo, he's like
Yo,
that.
you're so cute.
I will put him against anybody.
Oh my god.
Lyrically, the man that brings faith.